dual battery system or portable power station. Which is best? Coming up, I'm going to show you why I chose what I chose and what the benefits are of either system. If you're going to go away traveling these days, there's so many more things that you might want to take with you that require electricity. You've got your fridge, camp lighting, maybe an induction hob, laptop, phone, drone, cameras, a Starlink. Everything these days seems to have a USB plug. Some people take coffee machines. There's one guy I've seen on YouTube who even takes a microwave. So what's the best system to get? I've had to do a lot of thinking about this. In the end, I've decided that the dual battery system is not the right thing for me. So I'm going to explain why. With a typical dual battery system, you're going to need the battery, obviously. You're going to need to fit a shunt so that you can monitor the status of your battery. Then you're going to need a DC to DC charger to send power from your car's battery or alternator to your lithium battery, MPPT controller, 230 volt charger, the wire, connectors, fuses and fuse holders, inverter, and you're going to need the knowledge to do it all. That's a big one. I wired up a 12 volt system on the camper trailer. I had to do a lot of research to make sure that I actually got it right, because if you get it wrong, you can burn the whole thing to the ground. It's a real safety hazard. You don't fuse it properly, use the wrong gauge of wire. If you decide that you're not up to the job, and there's nothing wrong with that, it is a skilled job setting up a proper 12 volt system, then you're going to need the 12 volt electrician. 12 volt electricians don't come cheap. If you want to handle 3 kilowatts of power at 230 volts, mains voltage, you need a little cable like this. I think this is actually oversized. That's about 3 millimeters square. If you want to move 3 kilowatts at 50 volts, you need a cable this size. This is 16 millimeters square. But if you want to move 3 kilowatts at 12 volts, you need cabling this size, and it needs to be doubled up. So you need 2 of these and 2 of these just to move 3 kilowatts at 12 volts. That 3 kilowatt inverter you were thinking about getting, you really need to consider the cabling. If you just priced up your 12 volt system by going online, so much for the battery, so much for the charger, so much for the inverter, and you forgot about all the other bits and bobs, you're going to have a nasty shock, because it gets expensive really quickly. Another issue that I've got with your traditional 12 volt system is, where do you put it? With a wagon like this, the amount of real estate that you need to take up to install the batteries, DC-DC charger, and all the other bits and bobs, there just isn't the space in the vehicle unless you want to actually make a dedicated compartment which is eating into your luggage space. There isn't room under the seats in here. I don't really want anything mounted on the walls, because I still want to be able to put big things in there from time to time, and I don't want exposed cabling running down the side of the boot either. There's not enough space behind the trim to fit all the different components that you need. That's another big factor in why I've decided not to get a 12 volt system. So I've opted for this thing. This is a portable power station. There are hundreds of these on the market. There's some specific reasons why I've chosen this huge one, which I'll go into later. Inside here you've got the battery management system, the shunt, the inverter, the MPPT controller, and it's all enclosed in one unit. There's no cable runs, there's no wiring, it's all just there, plug and play. But the main reason I want it is because when I don't need it, I can pick it up, put it in the shed, and I've got the space back in the car. Now, a few years ago, power stations like this weren't really an option for overlanding because there was no good way of charging them back up. The old ones were designed to be charged up at home on the mains, and then you take them out, you use them maybe for a weekend or something like that, and then they'd be flat. The only way to charge them up was through the cigarette socket in the car, which for something like this would take days. So that's not really an option. But now a lot of manufacturers have started to make dedicated DC-DC chargers for the power stations. That gives you so many more options. The BLUETTI one, the Charger 2, can charge it up to 800 watts off the alternator. I wouldn't recommend you go that high unless you know your alternator can handle that load. I have it set to 500, seems to work fine. Another thing that the Charger 2 can do is take power from solar on the roof straight into the charger, and from there it can either top up your starter battery or charge your power station or run your Starlink. Most portable power stations don't actually operate internally at 12 volts. They could be anywhere from 24 volts up to 50, 60 volts. This one runs at 51 volts. What that means is the Charger 2 supplies this power station with 56 volts to charge it. That higher voltage means that the cabling required from the Charger 2 to the power station doesn't need to be anywhere near as thick. That makes cable running easier. Another option to get with the Charger 2 is the DC hub. Again, this takes a higher voltage from the Charger 2 to the DC hub, where it's then stepped down back to 12 volts. It's got two USB-A's, two USB-C's, two cigarette plug sockets, two of those, I forget what you call them, jack plug type sockets. I think it can handle up to 700 watts. I do have one issue with the Charger 2, and that is the cable supplied to connect the Charger 2 to the power station was only, I don't know, it wasn't even a meter long, and I had to extend it to make that work. I think maybe in the future they'll bring out longer cables, but it's something to think about if you do buy a system like this. On the BLUETTI website, they have it pictured just mounted on the side of the boot, but that leaves exposed cabling, and I figured because the Charger 2 is going to be permanently mounted, I didn't want cables dangling down where I could catch them putting stuff in and out of the car, so I've mounted it under the seats. What really sets this apart from all the other power stations on the market is it's got multiple outputs, and you can set the output voltage. Now, BLUETTI designed it so that you could charge other brands of portable power station. You've got a fixed output voltage for a BLUETTI station like this, and then you've got another connection for another brand of power station, and you can set that voltage to whatever you like. Now, that gave me an idea, because there's one device which requires 30 volts. You may be ahead of me here, but if you want to mount a Starlink Mini on your vehicle, it needs a 30 volt supply. So what some people are doing is they're buying a step-up transformer so they can transform from 12 volts up to 30 volts. With the BLUETTI Charger 2, you can set the PPS output to 30 volts, and it's just plug and play. No need for any transformers or anything like that. You just run the wire from the Starlink to the Charger 2. The reason I've got this pretty big one is this has got over 3 kilowatt output. That means I can run a professional grade induction hob. I've made a guide for buying the right induction hob for overlanding, camping, whatever, and you can watch that if you go to the channel. To give you some idea of what these power stations are now capable of, I'm going to do something pretty stupid. I've just plugged in this wire, and the wire leads to a Tesla. It is charging. I'm going to get in so much trouble for bringing my wife's car down here. So if you're traveling with a wagon or something which has limited space, then the portable power station is probably the better option. Something else that the BLUETTI system can do that a lot of other manufacturers can't is you can reverse charge with this. So if you flatten your starter battery, you can charge it back up, taking power from this through the charger 2 and back into the starter battery. There's 3 ways you can do that. You can do a low trickle charge, which if you've got the solar on the roof might be nice just to keep everything topped up. You can do a rapid charge, which can do up to 800 watts, which is, 60 amps back into the starter battery. It's not going to take long to be able to turn over the engine if you're putting 60 amps back in. It might even be enough to just switch it on and turn the key, might just go straight away. It also has a battery maintenance mode where it provides a pulse supply. If your battery gets sulfated, the pulse supply helps to break up the sulfur and you can restore the battery back to something like its former self. That's another great feature about this. There's one area where the 12 volt system wins over this, and that is if you wanted auxiliary power to run something with a very high load, like a big powerful winch. The winch I have pulls a fair bit of power, but I only need to use it in an emergency. I'm not going out looking to get stuck, winching after winching after winching. So for me, the starter battery is enough to power the winch, and if I do run down the starter battery, I can top it back up with this. So these power stations have come a long way. Used to just be a pretty basic thing that you might be able to take camping for a weekend, but now you can take this out for weeks, months. Even permanent travelers could use a setup like this. It's got a lot of advantages in terms of cost, space, simplicity. Simplicity of installation is a massive one. But the biggest reason for me was just when I don't need it, I take it out, I put it in the shed and it's forgotten about. But the DC-DC charger remains in the car. It can also run the Starlink as well. This is a massive advantage. Wiring in a system like this is so much easier than wiring in a full-on 12 volt system. I mean, they're not even really comparable. The part that took me the longest wiring this in was actually making the brackets to mount the charger 2 under the seats. If I just decided to stick it in the boot, as BLUETTI recommend on the website, it would have taken minutes. The DC hub has clips on the back which allow you to clip it onto these handles here, or you can clip it onto, I've got it clipped to the dog guard in the back of the car, but you can also take the clips off and hard mount it somewhere if you want. There's still 1 or 2 things that I wish this could do, but it can't. Right now, the BLUETTI Charger 2 cannot recharge the starter battery on the vehicle when this is not connected. I don't see any reason why it couldn't using the solar panels on the roof, but the way the hardware is set up, it might be a software issue, it might be something they change with a firmware update. I honestly don't know, but I wish it could do that. One other thing that these probably do better than this comes down to repairability. This is essentially a sealed unit. By all accounts, they're pretty reliable, but if something does go wrong with this, the whole thing has to go back to the factory, or you have to replace it with another one. With a traditional system, if a particular component fails, you can at least take that component, replace it, and you're back up and running again. Having said that, these things are sold all over the world. If you really did need to find a replacement one, you probably could. Which one do you go for? If you're looking to buy the BLUETTI Charger 2 or any other products from the BLUETTI ecosystem, please click the link in the description. I've put region-specific links in there. To read the full review, head over to theoverlander.substack.com. There's lots of other articles there too.